Oh, can you hear me now? Chris? Okay. Um, you should be able to hear me now. Can you hear me now? Okay, perfect. Oh, perfect. Um, my bad. Uh, my mic was off and I was just talking. But I'll start over again. So the main red folder news that we have coming into this week is PPI, and the market would be looking to see how that prints because that's key inflation data. It would inform the Fed on how they want to go about reducing interest rates or potentially increasing interest rates, which will then impact the market. So when into like we just have to watch out for that. It happens before the New York session opens. So if you trade New York session, be mindful of this on Tuesday. But I was saying that um because we haven't gotten any good news from the US and Iran um up, negotiations that happened this past week. Vice President JD Vance said they were basically just returning to the states and they didn't come to an agreement. So we anticipate the market reacting to that for sure. Um, moving on, I want to talk about earnings because when you're planning for the week, it's very important to know which companies are reporting earnings. Why? Because if you're trading options, like I do, or even if you're trading the stock, you see that like the names maybe chop around, and then after earnings, you see strong directions from investors either up or down. So you want to know how the stocks that you trade are moving, right? So you want to be prepared. The big banks are going to start off earnings. They all banks always start off the earnings season reporting Q1. So the banks like Citi, JPM, and so forth. But the tech names, Netflix always starts the tech earnings cycle. And another name I wanted to mention was TSM. It's a semiconductor stock, and it would give us a hint as to how you know what's happening in that industry. And they report earnings before market opens on Thursday, so that will be interesting to see how names like Nvidia, AMD trade on Thursday. So keep that in mind. Now we would move on to the charts. And as usual, like if you have any questions or if you want me to look at any names, just put them in the chat and I would go over them as we move along here. First name is Spy. I already anticipate that given the news that Iran and US could not come to like resolution in their negotiation, that we might potentially open like minus 1.2 around here tomorrow. But I'm not going to get ahead of myself. My game plan is this 666 level. It sounds weird, but if we gap down and we hold this 666 level, I will be very mindful going short. Very mindful. And if we fail 666, yes, then there's a chance that we would potentially see something like this where we then feel like we go down to fill this gap from last week Tuesday at 659. So 666 that sounds so weird. Anyway, 666 is my line of the sand in terms of holding bullish structure from this like gap up that we had. So like now I want to even show, okay, where is my 200-day moving average? Fantastic. It's right at my key level that I even had here on this chart, 660.98. So potentially we can come back and revisit this next week. But we need to just be careful and play the levels because right now a lot of people are like, oh, we're going down to Lord knows where, but just be mindful. because if we end up holding 660, even if we fail 666, that's still a positive. It doesn't mean you should continue shorting. In my opinion, the only way you start shorting again is if 650 starts to fail. Like you start being very short biased coming into the um week. And then as for upsides, like I want to still see 672 hold. If 672 holds at any point this week, we can still see Friday's highs of 682. So just being very mindful. Again, if we reclaim 682 at some point next week, say Netflix blows earnings out of the park and the market has a positive reaction and the banks are like, that's that, or we get news that yeah, the war is gonna end and they've come to a resolution, then we could see strong action even into 685s. But again, it's just on a day-to-day basis. QQQ, next, similar thesis. I will be very mindful going short until 600 fails, and then you can then play this move down to 695. Be mindful of 695 if you're shorting, because so much confluences, higher time frame key levels, and the 200-day moving average that the market tends to hold and respect and look at. If 600 holds for some reason magically, then most likely we'll be chopping inside last week's Wednesday and Friday's range, which would not be pretty to trade, to be honest. So I would really prefer for us to like see clean directions, whether it's downside this way, like if we get downside moves to this and maybe we hold, we come back, retest, we get above, we do something like this and head back higher, or we just fail the 200-day moving average and the 595 area, and then we then for sure then go down to fill this gap at 588. Yeah, so it's just plain levels day to day. Just don't be, it's like an if then thing. For me personally, I would not be going in with like heavy strong bias because anything can happen. It's such a news driven market at this point. IWM on this one, similar thing. We have a nice gap. It's funny how I'm looking at this charts and I'm like, in hindsight, it was right there in front of us, like very clean moves. This was like a flat. This was like a nice flat top area. If the moment we broke above this area, strong move. But then it was news that sent us high, right? But yeah, hindsight is always lovely. IWM 258.78 is where, like, okay, if it breaks and it fails, then we see 257 and then potentially this gap fill. Again, depends on where we open. If we fail this 252, then we have a move down potentially to 250 on IWM. As for upside, you want to see 263 reclaim, and then you have a gap to fill at 265.47. Yeah. Next name, Nvidia. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. If you have any tickers that you want me to look at, I can also look at them right here as well. Nvidia was just a nice trade last week. If you look at this chart, all the pattern traders will probably see inverse head and shoulders, but you can see if you're trading market structure, it kept on rejecting this area. Then when it finally broke above this 180 that I kept on saying for weeks, all we did was a break and retest on higher time frames. And if you're a swing trader, you probably were happy to see this move happen because it was really nice. Like it broke above this 180 and then came back to retest it, and then we saw this strong push into highs. Now, as again coming into this week, Nvidia line of sand is 180. If Nvidia fails 180, gap fill 178 down, and then if 178 fails, we have the support down here at 175 and then 173.66. If this support fails, we have so much room down to even fill this gap at 165. So Nvidia, I will be watching coming into next week. Glad it doesn't have earnings until May, so we can continue to look at this name and trade it. If for some reason it gets above Friday's high, which is 190, there's so much room, like a 5 point gap, 5 point move to 195.80, and I feel like it can do it. If we get above 190 though, it would not be easy. And then next name is AMD. I was saying this for weeks, and if you joined the lives, you hopefully you're able to catch it, that AMD just continued to look very, very strong. And that's what it's doing. Look at how, like, it's really close to all-time highs. Let's see how far it is from all-time highs right now based on close. Yeah, like 9% away from all-time highs, about 22 points away from all-time highs. In this current market, that's very impressive. Now, coming into this week, what I'm watching is basically 227. Very straightforward. 227. If 227 fails on AMD, there's a nice gap. You all know I love the gaps. There's a nice gap to be filled right here at 221.43. So that's what I will be watching on AMD if it fails 227 for downside. For upside, I want Friday's highs. Like, if it gets above Friday's highs, basically 250 is what I'll call it, psychological level. There is room into 253 and then 260 on AMD. There's a chance that this name will actually hit all-time highs before earnings. I believe earnings is May 5th or 6th. I can check it. I don't know why I'm saying I believe. I can easily just go here and check it. Yeah, May 5th. Got that. So that being said, AMD plan is pretty simple. If at some point it gets above this 250 level, it'll be a nice trade towards all-time highs. 227 for potential gap fill move. It'd be around a 6-point move. Small, but then be mindful because it would be a retest of this breakout here. So on higher time frames, I would get out of any short positions or puts once this gap is filled, because it could just be a simple retest of this level and then a continuation move towards the upside. If 221 fails, then again it could come back into this ugly range. Is that clear? Nice. Okay. Tesla. I'll just be really honest. 250 needs to be reclaimed. Like, if it does not reclaim 250, just don't bother with Tesla. Right now, it's doing something healthy though that I like to see, which is consolidation after such a strong move down, because you want to see range trend. I talk about it in the YouTube video I'm dropping tomorrow about what you want to see in a chart before you start trade. You take trades. It's going to be a very good watch. So now that it has sold off nicely into strong support, as you can see, you want to see it form a base, which is what it's doing right now. And after it's done forming a base, what you want to see on Tesla is this break above 350, and you can see that if once it does, it's going to have a nice run. to potentially 360 and above. So I'm sure people will be watching Tesla like a hawk next week because this week, because next week it has earnings as well. Like Tesla reports earnings next Wednesday. So let's see what happens. It could also just chop around and wait till it reports earnings and provides guidance on the future quarters before even making that strong move. But who knows? For now, this name, I'm not really interested in trading it. If I'm being very frank. Um, so next name I want to just talk about is Palantir. Oh boy, I missed I missed the move I was watching on it, but it's fine. These are levels from last week. Yeah, this name. Yeah, I believe on Friday we had news that impacted the name. Software names were selling off on Friday. Meanwhile, semiconductors were moving nicely. So I want to go back and find key levels that we can then trade off on this one. Yikes, not looking pretty. That sell off was not nice for it. Oh, lows. Oh wow. Okay, there's a gap at 110. 48. Okay. Uh, doo-doo-doo. Gap fill. Okay. Where I expect this name to find reasonable support is around the 118s, 118.74. I don't think it's done. It's done yet. And given the news exactly, we could open significantly lower tomorrow. And then there's a gap to fill at 110. Yeah, Palantir is nowhere like there's no buy scenario here for now until we start to see support hold. Let's see what happens around 110. Around 110, and we'll see what happens there. But then yeah, that's what I have on this name. I'm not looking to buy yet. We shall see how 110 holds. And then maybe buyers will start to step in, and then we see that okay, it's forming a base, and then we'll have a narrative on if a reversal wants to happen. Does anyone have any questions? Like if you're in the chat, like happy. How do you mark the level on the chart? What time frame do you use? I use the 1 hour time frame because I day trade. And it's a nice balance to use the 1 hour because you're able to capture what's actually happening on the chart if you're day trading and because I'm doing this weekly outlook, right? So I'm trying to see what scenarios are going to play out for the week. What would anchor my bias? What would be my good reference point? And the levels um hold nicely on the 1 hour. I remember when I first started, I would go on the weekly, mark support resistance, and then by the time I get down to the 1 hour, I'll have like 18 lines, and then you're confused. So I found that the 1 hour levels were all most likely respected. And I just look for where like old highs and old lows. I look for the gap fill levels as well. And as you can see, I label a gap fill. When I see it's a gap fill level, those tend to be respected. And then you mark out the old highs, the old lows, where we saw like a trend shift or change in character. You mark that, and yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Just and then I don't use pre-market hours. Like some people will use extended hours. Like now I've turned on extended hours on my chart. I don't use them until maybe we have earnings or we have news that maybe impacts things, and then I start to look, okay, where was that news high? Okay, I want to have that news high marked out, so I have it there. Okay, when they reported earnings, price spiked up to this level, then I will mark it. If not, I don't do it at all. I just have the regular trading hours. I hope that answers your question, Chris. Also, if you're watching, I started a free community. I officially announced it in the video that is dropping tomorrow. But if you go and look, if you look in the description in my latest video that is on the channel, there's a link to drop. There's a link. There's a link to drop. There's a link to join it. And I post my daily watch list and outlook there. I'm trying to think of creative ways to have like a nice small community of people that are actually interested in trading and want to want to learn and do the work. Yeah, like I'll also like be posting my trade recaps there for people so they kind of understand and learn more from me, because I know posting videos, you watch it, you learn, and you have some questions. So that's that's important for people to have. So it's free. There's no upsells on it. It's just a WAP community. I didn't create a Discord or anything with like alerts or anything. So if that sounds like something you want to be part of, you can join. Sorry, I just need to drink water. Any questions? How's y'all's trading week? How's April been so far? And also, I want to mention another thing too that would help and guide during this period. I learned it from a trader, a senior trader that I've been trading for the past 20 something years. Now that like we have like this war thing going on, is to watch oil, because oil prices are impacted. You know, oil prices are impacted, so you want to watch oil. And what I would say is, if oil reclaims 100, like 100 per barrel, if it reclaims 100, this 100 price point, the market will have a hard time going like having a clear uptrend. Like this bounce that we are seeing, I don't believe it will hold. And look at like once it gets above this 102.71 level, look at this gap it has to fill. So I'm not I'm not I'm not saying we are going to like dump and sell off in the market. I'm just saying be very mindful until we start to see oil really like sell off back to like pre-war levels. Then we will be like, okay, like look at pre-war levels around 60 something. So again, I don't know. This market just feels very manipulated at this point. So, and another thing I wanted to mention that is guiding me when it comes to position sizing is the VIX. On Friday, we saw that the VIX finally broke below 23, and that means okay, volatility dropped. The daily ranges that we saw, if you look at SPY, we didn't have that much of a wide range compared to other trading days, where like look at the strong hourly candle. But you can see that here, this is like 3 days of price action, and that's because the VIX dropped, volatility reduced in the market. And when it comes to sizing positions, something that I'm trying to implement that would help, as long if you don't have like a six-figure account, you're still like trying to build your trading account, is like VIX. If the VIX is within like the 19 to 23 range, trade your normal position size. Like you can then use your normal position size, because then like your losses, if your trade doesn't work, would be minimized. Like it would be within your expected like number. Once the VIX then gets above 20 23 and is around that 20 to 25 range, drop your position size by 20 to 30%. And then if VIX gets above 25, oh boy, cut it in half, 50%. Because one candle, like reversal, will be like 1 to 2 points. And then you're losing more than you anticipated. And then you're like, that's how like people get into revenge trading mode, or they're upset that they took a loss. So this is something I'm trying to implement with my own trading, and I'm just sharing this. If you want to use it, great. If you don't, it's up to you. But it saved my account. It's helped me manage my expectations, and the gains will reduce, but also your losses will reduce. And the most important thing is survival in this market. Yeah. So that's basically what I have for y'all today. If you have any more questions, I'm still gonna be here for about two minutes before I hop off, for sure. But tomorrow I'll update this watch list and I will post. Um, what I do is I try not to trade zero DTs. I think this year maybe I've only traded zero DT once, and that was accidental. I'll own that. But um, I usually go one day out or 2 days out, depending on the price of the option and then the delta, and then keep my size the same because I've bought myself time. But then if you're trading zero DTEs, you have to reduce your position size, if that makes sense. How long does it take to how long does it take build to build confidence in your trades? I say it takes time, and it's different for everybody. The more you like trade, the more you try things, it works. The more you see things that you like drew out play out, then you're like, oh wow, this works. And then obviously keep a journal. I always say this: keep a journal. Like nobody has an excuse anymore. Like even AI can create a journal for you. Keep a journal, whether it's your notebook of your trades. If you start to track them nicely, you see what works and what doesn't work, and then that builds your confidence. For me, what built my confidence was doing this weekly outlook, like doing it, seeing the trades work, doing it, doing my daily prep, seeing it work out, um, and then I'm like, okay, this actually works. It takes time. It's not going to just happen overnight, but it takes time. Once you know what you're doing and you have the strategy that you're seeing work multiple times, evidence, right? Evidence is what builds confidence. No worries, Speed. No worries. Alrighty. Thank you so much for joining. I I'll end the stream here. I'll be back next week. Join the free community, and I believe we'll have like only for serious people, please. If you're not trading the New York session, like for now it won't be much value to you, I'll be honest. But if you're trading the New York session, you're new, you're trying to get curious about trading, for sure. Um Join that and reach out to me and ask any questions. All right. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I will see you next week. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you. Pam, Barisa, Christopher, Speed Grit, Crown Love, Sandra, Frederick, all of you that joined. I appreciate you. Thank you. Um, and if you're just watching and you're not commenting in the chat, I appreciate you as well. Please drop a like and a sub so I keep growing the channel and bringing you free value. All right. Studio.